do you think we maybe, if we're not going to get a season 2 of She-Hulk, does She-Hulk show up in something else?
Brave New World is going to include both the leader and, Red Hulk probably. Is she a character you see in like Secret Wars at some point?
Yeah. Welcome back to the Break Room, everybody. So happy to see you today. I'm Zach Huddleston, and joining with me today on the dais, I've got Brandon Barrick.
Hey, howdy, hey!
Wow, new signature intro.
I stole that from Woody.
Oh, okay. And Jay Washington's here.
I didn't expect that.
You didn't expect a little hey, howdy, hey?
Hell no.
Oh, come on.
We're doing a headlines episode today, and there's a lot of fun, a very broad range of headlines, some casting, some announcements, some rumors, all kinds of stuff we want to get into. We're going to get into the fascinating Madam Web marketing campaign.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, it's a riddle inside of a paradox, and it's going to take a lot of time to unwrap it. We've also got some Daredevil potential casting news, bringing back some faces. She-Hulk season 2 not happening. A lot.
Pause on that. Not happening.
It's the tease. And again, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can always watch us live on Twitch at Breakroom NR, where you can be submitting questions that producer Evan is patiently combing through. He'll be popping in during the show. And you can see us. We did some real top-notch banter. We covered some streaming services, what we're binging.
Oh, you're talking about what was on Twitch?
On Twitch, yeah. They don't get to see that on YouTube.
Brandon disappeared. Like, what?
I was like, I didn't have that conversation.
Yes, you
Absolutely.
We talked about what it means to be a churner.
Yeah. Churning and burning.
Churn.
No, we won't go into any more details than that.
Okay, all right.
Let's get into our headlines. Do we have a headlines graphic? Ooh, yeah.
Headlines graphic.
There it is. We've gotten a lot of casting news on Last of Us Season 2. Mm-hmm. We're expecting this series early 2025, I believe is the latest. But they're about to ramp up filming on it, presumably. Caitlin Dever is going to be playing Abby. There's some great side-by-side pictures. Caitlin Dever, you might know from Booksmart, The Last Man Standing. Actually, that's a really strange picture of her.
That is an odd picture.
Are we sure that's Caitlin Dever?
That's Caitlin Dever. I think it is a very strange picture.
Okay, anyways.
Have you ever looked at actors' photos on Wikipedia? It's as if someone is purposely picking the worst photos.
Yeah, because anybody can.
For Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it. Like, I'll look at people on Wikipedia, I'm like, someone hates this person.
On purpose.
They put this photo up.
Well, part of it is that for Wikipedia pages, they don't get the copyright clearance for those pictures, so they're trying to keep them like pretty copyright
They're
safe.
staying away from those Getty images.
Yeah, that's why there's a lot
They're
of
still
bad
picking
pictures.
rotten photos of these people.
Somebody with a toothbrush in their mouth.
Yeah.
Truly.
And then I want to come back to these, and we'll go to producer Evan, who's played The Last of Us 2, and his thoughts. Young Mazzino, recently in the Netflix series Beef, is going to be playing the role of Jesse. And then Isabella Merced, who is absolutely blowing up and is going to be in everything you watch in the next 2 years, is going to be playing the role of Dina, thank you, Evan. Now, I know the Abby casting in particular was a little controversial in The Office for folks that have played the game, because that character is a beefed up badass in the game, right? And Caitlin Dever is a smaller actress of stature.
Sure.
Not necessarily known for being a big, muscly fighter per se. What are your thoughts, Evan?
Yeah, I think that the character, without spoiling too much for people who haven't played the game or because it makes some really interesting choices really quickly. That character is really hard to play. And we talked about this on another episode, but it is tricky to figure out, like, are you trying to match the look, or are you trying to find someone with the ability to kind of like play the full range of this character? And I do think that with Caitlin Dever, obviously there's a lot of time for her to kind of like, work out or, become more physically imposing. But I do think there's some emotional calculation that could be going on to why they would cast her. And so I'm interested because she can play very strong roles.
Yeah, she's a super talented actress. She's done drama and comedy and done it well. And that show has made the first season, they made some interesting choices. Like even the Joel casting is not, Pedro Pascal is not like, picture the same, didn't look the exact same as the video game character.
He's also a lot younger than Joel is.
Right? But it completely worked.
And the whole Bill storyline was like completely different and much better done in the show than it was in the video game.
I'm just letting the people know I'm listening.
You're listening.
Yeah, so we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. If they're making a choice that seems unorthodox, like, hey, that's great. And all those actors are great. And that Isabella Merced, we just want to point out, so she is in Madam Web, that we're going to talk about in a minute. She's going to be in Last of Us Season 2. She's playing Hawk Girl in the Superman Legacy movie.
She's in the next Aliens movie.
And she's in that Aliens movie that's coming out this year. So she's going to be in a lot of stuff. She was also Dora in the live action Dora the Explorer. So she's already got a pretty deep
Resume.
IMDb.
She's working.
For a young woman.
She's
doing great. So get to know her because she's going to be everywhere. She's going to be what Pedro Pascal was for the last 4 years. Isabella Merced could be for the next 4 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you hear? Pedro Pascal talked about his injury last night at the Emmys.
Because he's been wearing a sling for a while.
Kieran Culkin broke his fucking arm.
What?
Wait, they said it as a joke.
Did he owe him money or?
They were both up in the same category, but he said it as a joke.
Oh, I was like, what happened?
Has it come out?
He said it very earnestly on stage, and it was pretty funny.
Okay.
Do we know why he wears a sling? Was it an onset injury? Or?
I mean, that's the big mystery, right? And immediately when I saw that at the Golden Globes, I was like, well, that's gonna fuck up some shit because they wanted to start filming Fantastic Four immediately. Not that he's been announced for it, but that's still like the rumor he's involved. They want to film Last of Us this year.
In 2 weeks.
Supposedly that got backed up to February because of his schedule. But there's also no way they shoot him for just a month for Fantastic Four.
Let me ask you a question.
He's also maybe dropped out of the Zach Kreger film Weapons.
But the reason we probably don't know is because it's probably something just you regular night out, hanging, did something stupid.
Pulled a Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, so it's like we don't. That's why, like every time some injuries happen, we always feel like we need to know. And if they're yeah, you don't need to know, because think about it, we've all had those nights where we've been trashed, and then stumbled and fallen like, oh shit.
Right, but if he was the quarterback of a football team, right, we'd want to know what's going on. Like what's going on. But he is the quarterback of
but I think
multiple franchises right now.
But I think the difference when it comes to sports is like you're putting active money on them. On these teams,
they're putting active money on these projects.
Yeah, but those projects are still going to come.
They do have, productions do have insurance for stuff like this. There's also a world. I mean, all his Mandalorian stuff basically just voiceover. Right. He doesn't need two good arms for that.
Sure.
And maybe we just see a lot of Joel in profile from a distance.
Do you think he injured it because they were stretching him out for Fantastic Four? He was doing some hanging exercises and like ripped his shoulder out.
Stretching.
He also could be faking it.
Oh
yeah.
That's my other theory.
Is it kayfabe?
I think he's faking the injury to like throw off the set what he's working on. He did have to finish up some There was some like 2 days of Gladiator 2.
That's right.
Shoots that picked up after the strike was over. Though apparently they only needed like 2 days or something. Maybe it happened there. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows?
DBrit17 saying that Pedro said in an interview that he just fell. He didn't go into detail though. So I do think. I mean, I'm inclined to agree with Jay that he was
like the what's his name, Zac Efron jaw injury. He just slipped in his house. He was walking around in socks. He said he slipped, hit his jaw on like a fountain, broke his jaw, and that's why his face looks different now. Who knows? Huh. You know what? Brandon hurt his back trying to make his bed this weekend.
It's true.
Okay. I just want you to compare the two of them stories. Yeah, I slipped on a fountain.
Okay. Here's how the two stories work. Both Zac Efron and I, incredible shape.
Yeah, physical specimens. Yeah,
hot as hell, and we both got injured in simple ways. That's the comparison.
At least you didn't do like me and run a foot race and pop your quad like a dummy because you let your ego take over. Look here to all the guys on the other side of 35. Don't let your ego hurt you.
Also, stop making your bed. It's dangerous.
That's right. I've been taking that advice since I was 10. So. We mentioned Madam Web earlier. We've been getting that movie is coming out in
February
less than a month.
15th.
It's actually coming out.
Less than a month.
2024's first $1 billion movie.
Love it. And the marketing campaign has been fascinating for this movie. Yeah. Okay, we got a Ocean Spray cranberry bottle that melted my brain.
That leaked the suit.
And then we've got we got this image of 3 of the characters in costume. Okay, that's Anya Corazon, Julia Carpenter, and Maddie Franklin. Those are the names of the characters, not the actresses. But that's Isabella Merced. That's America's Sweetheart,
Sydney
Sweeney, and then
yes, it's Celeste O'Connor. She was in the Ghostbusters movie, the new Ghostbusters.
Oh,
Afterlife.
Right, she's the love interest.
Finn Wolfhard. Yeah.
Okay, but it was a controversial shot. A lot of people had strong opinions on those costumes, and a lot of people have even been speculating they're not going to be wearing those costumes like throughout the movie. That might be an alternate universe.
That'll
just
be like a
glimpse.
single. That feels like third act, like hullabaloo. Right
but also
there,
the biggest deal is that they're not whited out. That the masks aren't whited out. That's the real controversy. And I understand even the same thing with the MCU with certain comic book accurate costumes, right? But I think because already Sony is behind that 8 ball of why are you doing this? That's that automatic
if you're paying
mindset.
for these actors, you want to see their face.
And that was the next thing I was bringing up.
Yeah.
You pay for these actors, no matter what, you want to see their face.
Now in the movie, they could be whited out. It could be just like
could
they
be
didn't
special
do it
effects.
for promos.
Yeah.
They didn't want to white it out. Also, like the comic book accurate stuff doesn't always work.
It's hard to translate
We all
sometimes.
saw Falcon and Winter Soldier. The suit looks great, at the end, but practically you're like, why isn't this motherfucker wearing a helmet? Like he's gonna get shot
In the face.
bald ass head.
In the face.
Someone put a helmet on.
Anthony
this guy.
Mackie's not bald. You meant bald in the sense that he's not covered.
He has hair,
okay.
but the hair's not gonna stop a bullet.
So that image came out, and that already got kind of Twitter going. And then a video promo came out. Now, what's the origin? Where did this video come from, Evan?
So this video is one of those like, hey, like, kind of like get your tickets type of promo.
Okay.
It's vertical video, so it's probably for release on social. The only version of this video that exists right now is with I think it's Russian subtitles. So why don't we
Not
put
widely released. Not widely
released. Hard to
Lord
find.
Jesus, here we go.
Weirdly, Sony Russia, their Instagram account or something like that?
Yeah, why don't we watch it together?
We're all seeing this for the first time.
So, while my character in the movie may be able to see the future, I also can. And I know what the future brings. I know that when you see Madam Web, you're going to love it. In fact, I think you're going to see it twice.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. I'm out of here. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead. Look, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. I'm gonna let y'all have the rest of the show because I don't think y'all want what the energy I'm about to bring to this.
First off, bless Dakota Johnson's heart. Because, whoever wrote that, whatever marketing team
that does feel like
was like, this is going to be the video you make. They gave her this script, and she's just like, I'm going to do the best job I possibly
I feel like
can
it was
reading
like
this script.
it feels like one of those social questions they'll ask where they ask everyone on the cast, right? Like, if you could see in the future, what would you see? You know what I mean? And this was her answer, being clever. You're gonna see this movie twice. I would also like to say, was that very sexual?
It was very sexual.
I felt
it was very
like
sexual.
she was speaking directly to me.
It was sexual hostage.
And there was kind of a whispery energy to it.
I think you're gonna see this twice.
I think that works. I think that promo works. I think a very targeted ad campaign to certain individuals of both sexes that would work quite well.
You could make the argument that just with their casting alone, they've already targeted
They're
certain
targeted.
individuals.
They're targeted.
Now, my question is, if you're planning on seeing Madam Web twice, let's
What
say
is wrong with
the
you?
first screening is, I just want to absorb the movie. I want to feel the plot and everything like that. How are you going into the second screening?
I mean, if you're going week 2, chances are you're the only one in there.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
And then
I saw
you had a great
Morbius.
time.
I saw Morbius twice in the theater.
So if you don't see this movie at least twice.
I'll see this movie twice.
Who heard him? The fans of the show heard him.
I mean,
and made him
it's
see it.
it's Morbid time for Madam Web. What's the equivalent of it's Morbid time for Madam Web?
It's the Amazon line, right?
Yeah, it's the Amazon line.
Yeah.
Which
He was
I want to
researching
shout out.
spiders in the Amazon right before
Before she wrote the die. Yes.
I want to shout out whoever wrote the Madam Web Wikipedia page. Literally has Tahar Rahim as Ezekiel Sims, an explorer who was with Webb's mother in the Amazon rainforest, researching spiders just before her death. Everyone on Wikipedia agreed that we can keep the line, and that's incredible.
It's factually accurate.
Here's
Evan.
the thing. We were just talking about this before we went live. This movie feels like it was released in 2002.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's from 3 generations of superhero movies ago.
Mm-hmm.
All that said, we're all rooting for this movie. We hope it's going to surprise us with how good it is. We think hopefully it's going to be a really good 96 minutes at the Cineplex or whatever. You know what I
Jay's
mean?
gonna love it.
We'll drag Jay in
We
there.
need a good tagline. I mean, that tagline is great. The long thing. It's a little long though. It's Morbid time works really well.
Yeah.
We need something like I'm a Madam Madman or something like that.
I'm a Madman. I'll go
I'm
see
a
it opening night.
Madman. I really like Dakota Johnson and her work. I hope this is good. I don't know. It's so weird looking. The trailer is so weird. I can't get over the weirdness of the trailer. Jay's gonna love it.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, what do you think?
My mother told me when I was a child if I didn't have anything nice to say, not to say it at all. So, listen. God, I'm sorry, people. the movie itself, the concept of the movie, I was already like, why? Right?
Sure, we all asked that question.
No, I'm taking you through my process, okay? Why? Then I started seeing stills, behind the scene photos. Again, why? The trailer comes out. This is fanfic. This isn't a real thing. This is not a real thing. Everybody said the same thing when the trailer dropped. Then you see the pictures of the costumes. You're like, stop doing this. And now Dakota Johnson seems like she's being held hostage reading from a cue card that has in parentheses, talk sexy. And she had to do that 4 times. You know that wasn't first take. They was like, let's do this again.
It was smooth.
We all know, look, we try to want all these movies, no matter what the studio is, to succeed. This is a real thing. That is honest. However, when it looks like something, you're like, oh no. Because another thing being, where does this go? There's this Sony verse. For some reason, there's radioactive animals every damn where. There's radioactive bats, radioactive spiders, radioactive lions, and tigers and bears. Oh my. Like, what is the point?
The bite verse.
Yeah, and this is.
I didn't come up with that.
Somebody else.
With that?
I think that was Eric said the bite verse or someone on
this
Slack
is
said the bite verse.
Reminder. This is the first of 3 Spum C movies we're going to get this year.
Yeah.
Later in the year, we're getting Kraven and Venom 3.
Yup.
None of which will probably have a Peter Parker Spider-Man in there.
Not a single one.
Hey,
You don't think by Venom 3?
they get? Well, they don't. They don't want to burn one of their Tom Holland appearances.
Sony can use him as much as they want. He's a Sony
boy.
boy.
Yeah, it's Marvel that doesn't want to burn him.
Yeah,
Sony can sit there and say, you have to appear in every single film just for a scene.
Now they got to make a deal with him. I mean,
Yeah, they got to pay up. But
Of course, they got to pay him
hey,
out.
you know, if he wants to,
I think he shows up in Venom.
I think he shows up in Venom 3.
I think you got to by
Because
that.
they've already teased it.
and
Or
you know,
it just goes over and it's Andrew Garfield and he beats the shit out of him or something like that.
I mean,
Just randomly start.
Yeah.
supposedly they're starting production on Spider-Man 4 at some point in the near future. You know, they would love to have another one of those. That was
Tommy H is going to be a producer, like an executive producer on those.
He'll be getting that Robert Downey
sure.
Jr. money pretty soon. Okay. Well, anyways, keep checking in with us over the next month. We'll keep you up to date on all the Madam Web news.
And because I know people are gonna be in the comments, oh, you just want this to be, it's not the MCU, blah blah blah. It's just like, again, the track record of Sony's movies.
Yeah.
Make me feel this way.
Yes.
No, I'm with you there.
No, I just want people to understand it's not like, and I know you guys understand, but it's like I want people watching to understand it's not saying you want this in particular film, but you look at Venom, yes, Venom 1 made $1 billion. Mm-hmm. Cool. They made Venom 2, and then Venom 2 made $7. Then they made Morbius, and Morbius made everybody's head hurt. And for some reason, Zach went and saw it twice.
The second one was mostly for the meme, but
I will say we were getting rumors and stuff ahead of Morbius that it was like a mess, lots of reshoots. I haven't heard that about like Madam Web.
Yeah.
They might have also filmed it in a weekend. I don't know. It could be someone's film. I don't know.
I will never forget the Variety article in 2019 that said one of the most anticipated movies of the year, Morbius. And I was like, who paid Variety to publish this? And then it came out what?
They didn't know it was
3
gonna
years
happen.
later?
But you got to remember,
The world fell apart.
because it's Academy Award winner Jared Leto. People forget that one
That's
part.
right.
No matter what film he's in, because it's Academy Award winner Jared Leto, it's gonna have high profile to it, no matter what.
which one of the cast members of Madam Web is most likely to win an Academy Award? Sydney Sweeney?
Sydney Sweeney.
Dakota Johnson
I
has
think
already
Dakota-
been in. She has not been nominated, I don't think, but Lost
wasn't-
Daughter
yeah, well, she wasn't
and
nominated for that, was she?
no, Peanut Butter Falcon was pretty well regarded. She's been in some good movies.
She's got lineage,
Yeah.
She might have won
She's
some
got Hollywood
Razzies for
lineage.
the 50 Shades of Grey franchise. I don't know.
yeah.
But, anyways,
Razzies.
okay,
Get
we've
outta here
already
with
spent
that.
too much energy on Madam Web, probably, but come back because we'll spend even more energy in the
Madam
coming weeks.
Madmen.
That's right.
Madam Madmans.
One of the biggest stories from the last week came out just before Echo binge dropped, was this Mandalorian and Grogu movie announcement. We got a little bit more news, backstory recently about like the origin of that becoming a film. And an executive was quoted as saying this.
No, it was just from the Hollywood Reporter.
Hollywood Reporter said that before the WGA and SAG strikes, Lucasfilm was intent on making a season 4 of The Mandalorian. The scripts had all been written. And then during the strikes, they kind of reevaluated things with plans shifting away from streaming. And there hasn't been a Star Wars movie in theaters since 2019, right? So they started prioritizing films. And so they basically kind of shifted a lot of the ideas of season 4 into becoming a film.
Mm-hmm. You know what it is? They knew the studios were like, well, we're about to start giving up money, so we got to consolidate our budget from shooting. That's the number one thing.
Because I'm sure The Mandalorian would have residuals, and it would meet that threshold.
Yes, it would. It would meet that threshold.
So they were probably like, let's just do a movie. It's a lesser I think it's like
threshold.
a time thing. I kind of said this when we were talking about this last week, that like, it was probably either Favreau or, Pedro doesn't have to do as much on that show, right?
Mm-hmm.
He kind of just mostly does ADR, and if they show his face, shows up for that. But a lot of times it's his double doing a lot of the acting and things like that. But I'm sure they were like, because they were already using Mando, the character, less in season 3, right? A lot more Bo-Katan. And so they were probably like, we could probably consolidate this down to a movie, much less work, maybe a quicker turnaround there.
Yeah.
And for the story, it probably just means, you were already leading to this like reunification of all the Mandalorian tribes. You'll have that happen in the movie. And it will probably condense the time of the movie down to where it's like the Mandalorian takes place over an undescriptive amount of time because they're always traveling and going to different planets and stuff like this. It'll probably be like, this is all happens within a week or a couple of days. Yep. Like most Star Wars movies happen in a very small span of time.
And it could be really cool in that, like, maybe the season 4 was going to build to a big battle, and now they've got the budget to do maybe like a big space battle or like a huge ground battle or something like that with all the Mandalorian tribes fighting the Imperial forces or whatever, right? Like,
and I thought there was a lot of good space dogfighting in season 3. They did a lot of awesome sequences.
That's something all the Disney Plus Star Wars stuff has done pretty well.
Ooh, yeah.
Underrated.
Andor did it great.
So there's that, and then how does this play into? Well, and speaking of Andor, we got a little bit of news on that. But so how does this becoming a film that I think is still slated for 2025? Is that right?
It's going into production this year.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
We don't know when it'll come out. Maybe 2025, 2026. Then that we're also going to get a second season of Ahsoka, helmed by Dave Filoni. And then following that, we're going to get a Dave Filoni movie.
Right.
So, like, we don't know the exact timelines of all these things, but that's the general order. It feels like the Mando movie, then a season of Ahsoka, and then a Dave Filoni movie at some point in the future. So how do you think this shifting, we're getting kind of 2 Star Wars series this year, unrelated to any of those storylines, with Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, we think, right? How do you think this impacts, like, the general Star Wars storytelling going forward?
I mean, it's weird. It's like you have the Skywalker saga, right? Which they say they're done with, but they're going to do a Rey movie. So, they're done with it, but I'm sure there will be some characters we'll see there, right? And then you have this kind of like Filoni-verse, which spun off from the Clone Wars into Rebels into where it is now, right? Where it's like there's characters that kind of cross over. And I think the most confusing thing is all the different time periods all these things take place in. Because Andor is like before A New Hope. Mandalorian and Ahsoka is like after Return of the Jedi, but before Force Awakens. Acolyte's going to be way, way, way in the past. And there's, and then there's like a High Republic movie that James Mangold's doing, which is also way, way in the past. So how does it affect it? I don't know. I think it's going to be like weird cameos from C-3PO and R2-D2 constantly. No matter what. And then, I don't know.
I don't think it really will affect. I mean, we're looking for like a certain timeline of how everything goes in order. I think that's the thing. Because everything's all over the place. It doesn't have to go in order.
Yes.
It fills in blanks of, this happened so long ago. This explains why somebody said this. That's all these things are. You have that one little offshoot line that somebody said in one of the original 3 or even the prequels, and you're like, what do they mean?
Yeah.
Now this series fills that blank in. And so I think because, again, they're going to shorten a lot of stuff. Strikes have had them to reevaluate everything. Sure. Like, all right, financially, what makes sense? A lot of times, a lot of these shows, no matter what studio it is, they do these 8, 9 episode shows where you have 1 or 2 episodes, you're like, we really didn't need that.
Yeah.
We really didn't need that.
Yeah. If it was 6 hours of storytelling and an hour and a half felt like filler, you're not that far off from a really good 2.5 hour movie, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I hope we just get, some new characters what I feel like a lot of Star Wars fans want. It's just like new characters, get away from the stuff we know.
Well, and it's a great opportunity for them to redefine what makes a Star Wars movie. In a post-Skywalker saga, post-Mandalorian and all these Disney Plus series, right? Like, what makes it feel like a movie and not just like 2 Mandalorian episodes squished together or something like that? I'm interested to see. And again, you could make a strong argument that, like, maybe with the exception of that 3rd season of The Mandalorian that I think people are a little bit more mixed on, but like
the 3rd season.
The Mandalorian stuff has been some of the best Disney Plus content in general.
Yes.
Right? And so, like, you give them full faith that they're going to do something fun with this. I also think, going back off of what Jay said, it is interesting. The strategy, basically, Marvel has taken is, like, for the most part, with a few exceptions, like Black Widow was kind of set older than like other Marvel content or whatever. But like for the most part, the MCU is almost always aligned within a year or two, but it keeps moving forward, right? All the content we're getting now is post-blip, right? Like, they're not going, I mean, with the exception of like some what if episodes or whatever, they're not really going back to the past. But with Star Wars, because it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, they're jumping around. They can tell kind of different stories.
I mean, even MCU is still like kind of a mess. Echo just came out, takes place before She-Hulk. We still don't know if Marvels or Secret Invasion took first.
Nobody cares about those.
I mean, but it's confusing in like in terms of like, character desires and what they know to be true and what they don't know yet. That kind of stuff.
No, I get what you're
matters.
saying. I think
The Boys is the only one doing it right, where it's just like everything just keeps
moving
place
forward
after each other, and you don't have to worry about it.
But I mean, Echo just was like its own little self-contained.
Sure. Yes.
That's what worked for me with Echo. It's its own self-contained story. It doesn't need the larger MCU. Episode 1 is basically a whole recap of the season of Hawkeye where she was. Then you move from there.
Yeah. We there are all these award shows. Was it the Critics' Choice Awards and the Emmys over the weekend? And so there were a lot of quotes from red carpet interviews and stuff like that coming out, including Diego Luna, star of Andor, was quoted as saying, I think there's only 2 weeks of shooting left on Andor season 2.
Heck yeah.
2 weeks left. Ooh. So they're almost done with that now. Obviously, with all these stuff, there's a lot of post-production. We don't know. That show is not slated as of now. We don't know when it's coming.
I think last we had heard it was going to be a 2025er. I mean, back years ago when they filmed a lot of they filmed kind of season 1 and season 2 together a little bit because they built a lot of practical sets like the town and all that stuff. So they had to kind of they just used a lot of that while it was all there. But there was still a lot of shooting that had to be done for season 2. But I bet we'll see that in 2025.
Yeah,
very excited.
Maybe right at the beginning of 2025.
Yeah,
would
maybe
be nice.
Early. Star Wars loves those like holiday times. That's when the last Star Wars movie was out. It was 2019. The holidays.
The last season didn't drop in like a November drop, maybe for the
Andor,
first season.
It was a fall film.
So, looking forward to that. Good to hear there's progress being made. We were all giant fans of that show. We've got some other casting and newsy things, but first we want to shout out sponsor of today's episode, our friends at Lucy. We want to thank Lucy for sponsoring today's episode of The Breakroom. Lucy is upping the nicotine pouch game with Breakers. I'm holding it.
Isn't that what we used to call our fans? Breakers, roomies?
That's right. Well, I think they got a copyright. We didn't get to the copyright quick enough.
The copyright trademarked it real fast.
With a mini liquid capsule inside each Breakers capsule, you get a satisfying pop and instant flavor. No more weak flavors that don't last. Breakers are different. It comes in 4 or 8 milligram of tobacco-free 100% nicotine. Lucy has nicotine gum, and in 6 delicious flavors. I am holding up a berry citrus. Oh. And I tried this before we started rolling, and I will say, there was a party in my mouth. Mix this with the Garrett popcorn, guys. It's been like Mardi Gras in my mouth.
Gum and popcorn at the same time. That's insane.
I did it.
That's dangerous.
I did it, and it was wild. Okay. Other flavors include espresso and apple ice, and classics like mint or mango. Break up with your dusty gas station pouches and go to lucy.co/breakroom, the link in the description of this video, and use promo code breakroom to get 20% off your first order. Lucy offers free shipping and has 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. That's lucy.co and use Breakroom to get 20% off and always free shipping. And a little bit of fine print for you. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Thanks again to Lucy for sponsoring this episode of The Breakroom. And then also a quick shout out to our friends at Nerd Riot. Brandon's wearing...
Oh, baby, best bubs.
Yeah.
I named this
We're
t-shirt.
on New Rockstars. We're breaking down all the X-Men movies. Started with the
We're going in
X-Men,
release order. Yeah, we
and-
started with X-Men 2000.
Okay.
Can you believe 24 years ago our little baby brains were shaped into mutants? We put out X2
Last week?
This week. It came out yesterday.
Oh, that's right.
X2
Sorry.
came out yesterday. Also, if you don't remember this is memory hold. That movie is called X2. It's not called X-Men 2. It's called X2. No
Just those
hyphen.
two letters.
Just X2.
X2. Yep.
And then X-Men United was kind of like a fun throwaway subtitle that it didn't really have. But it's X2, which blows my mind. Then coming out next week, we'll have X-Men The Last Stand. On X-Men 3, X-Men The Last Stand. Then we'll get into Wolverine Origins. And they'll include all the Wolverine movies, all the Deadpool movies, all the newer X-Men movies. We're going to go through all of them, even New Mutants.
Hell yeah.
Even New Mutants,
Yes,
folks.
let's go.
You okay?
I'm scared of New Mutants. I don't want to go back to it ever again, but we are breaking it down again.
Yes, and you can do all of that, and we're kind of doing all this in anticipation of getting Deadpool 3 this summer. And so in anticipation of that, you can buy our Best Bubs shirt at nerdriot.com. Shop. Thank you. I've said that 1,000 times. Why didn't I remember that? And then on to kind of some Marvel news that came out of similar interviews. She-Hulk star Tatiana Maslany had some interesting news that came out of a live stream that happened recently, where she basically said that she didn't think a season 2 of She-Hulk was likely to happen at this point. I think we're going to play the clip.
Captain tonight, Tatiana Maslany. Where can people find you? What have you got going on?
I've got nothing going on. You can find me on Instagram, not posting.
You put up like 5 stories a day.
Sometimes, yeah. But I've got no job.
Don't say that.
I've been fishing here. If anybody has
Season 2.
Yeah.
Season 2.
I mean, obviously, you're the Marvel guy that keeps everybody tight-lipped, but should we hope for a season 2?
I don't think so. I think we blew our budget, and Disney was like, no thanks.
Okay. First off, sad that an actress as talented as Tatiana Maslany doesn't have anything going on right now. Hollywood, cast that lady. She's great. But secondly, interesting, she also said they blew their budget. It's just too expensive a show to keep making. We were kind of talking before we started rolling, like that show, maybe if even all of the Disney Plus shows, is probably one of the most expensive.
Sure.
Because every frame that she is She-Hulk in is a heavily CGI thing.
That's why they did a lot of those jokes about her being herself.
Yeah.
They did a lot of jokes on the show where they were basically telling you, like, you're not going to get all this big Jennifer Walters. You're going to get regular Jennifer Walters. Because it's just an expense. Look, I don't know if some people understand or not how expensive it is to CGI a character to have them move and be realistic.
Yeah.
You know, with interacting with
long hair, too.
long hair that moves,
Yeah.
and interacting with you like us in regular scenes. People forget that, so that budget is high, and especially if you have this pushback feedback, and the subscriptions aren't coming in like supposedly
Right.
Disney said they're not coming in, then you're not making that money. You're not basing what the Disney Plus shows do off of something in the box office. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, and so, I mean, a bit of a bummer because I thought that show had a ton of promise and was like a fun, different tone than most of the other Marvel stuff we've seen. Do you think we maybe, if we're not going to get a season 2 of She-Hulk, does She-Hulk show up in something else?
I mean, you'd imagine you'd see her in Brave New
Secret?
World is going to include both the leader and, Red Hulk, probably. If that leads into Thunderbolts, is she a character you see in like Secret Wars at some point?
Yeah.
And you have to imagine that what's his face is getting tired of playing.
Ruffalo?
Ruffalo's probably getting towards the end of wanting to play the Hulk.
No, dog. He'll
You're gonna
die.
need new Hulks.
He'll die in that mocap
You got
suit. What are you talking
Scar.
about?
You got Scar with his weird hairline.
Ruffalo is having the time of his life.
He gets to go make weird indie dramas in between just cashing giant Marvel paychecks. He'll do it forever. RDJ, if he wasn't so into like producing and doing stuff like that, and needed to move his hairline back for Oppenheimer, he would have been doing Iron Man forever too. What a performance! I know I'm really late to
You're
the
late to the
Oppenheimer game. I
Oppenheimer
just
game,
watched it in the
buddy.
last couple weeks, but God,
Every day's an Oppenheimer
so
reference.
good,
From this guy.
so good. So, it's a bit of a bummer. And again, we've seen this shifting. Bob Iger came back to be the CEO of Disney, and they've kind of like adjusted some of their ambitions for Disney Plus.
Well, once they knew like Disney Plus wasn't making the money it should have, they were like well into She-Hulk by then and had to finish it and like get it out. And it was 9 episodes, it was a lot of television. A lot of expensive television.
And speaking of which, remember we got this whole big slate announcement for Chapek at the time. All these shows were supposed to come out on Disney Plus. We're getting everything. So what it was supposed to do was rile up this anticipation. Everybody's supposed to buy into Disney Plus. And everyone's like, oh, so they're not buying in.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is not happening, okay?
Doesn't it feel like maybe we're moving in a direction where the Marvel presence at Disney Plus is going to be animation, street level Defenders style stuff, and then maybe one big marquee Loki style show a year.
And a special presentation.
And then a special presentation or two.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know what? That's not a bad mix. That's probably a more sustainable mix, especially like they probably are not going to try to do animation on the big screen. I mean, Sony's really in their lunch with that, with the Spider-Verse movies. Yeah. So leaving that on Disney Plus and then like keeping it the more kicky punchy, type of heroes, less CGI, more action adventure stuff. Yeah. Anyways, just kind of more information in that zone. And then in some other big Marvel news, take this with a grain of salt, but it's been widely reported that Deborah Ann Wall and Eldon Hansen, who played Karen and Foggy, respectively, in the Netflix Daredevil series. Speaking of kicky punchy, it's long been rumored that they would not be returning to Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah.
And that show has been through some changes and
started filming, SAG strikes happened, it stopped filming.
They fired the showrunner, brought in a new showrunner, different people leading it. But it's now being reported they will be a part of the Disney Plus series. They're going to get brought back. Snyder of Snyder Bomb fame reported that originally there was some talk of killing them off screen before the first episode, which is pretty disrespectful. But now they are going to be at least somewhat a part of this new series. So it's like even more, bringing that full cast, really canonizing that Netflix series.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. I saw something about this because I remember we were talking about when the showrunner for Echo, he was like, yeah, basically it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
Do you know the biggest problem now? Blade.
Right.
What do you mean?
Mahershala Ali was Cotton.
Oh, well, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things. I mean, but again, we bring up Alfre Woodard. She's been like 4 different people.
And Gemma Chan has played
Gemma
too.
played too,
And I
yeah.
think this is something they're like, you hear these rumors a lot, like with Fantastic Four, right? They were supposedly talking to Jake Gyllenhaal quite a bit.
Yep.
Who played Mysterio. And then there's also the rumors that like they've talked to Mads Mikkelsen about coming back as a different character, not Caecilius.
Yes.
I think audiences are fine with like weird, kind of things like that overlap.
Well, there's the rumor that we all have a twin somewhere on this
Sure.
planet. There's a rumor
too.
So I mean, that's fine. I think it's just cool, like you said, to bring the whole cast over. Just
I say make Cottonmouth Blade. Have Cottonmouth get bitten by a vampire.
He literally gets killed in Luke Cage, I think.
Cottonmouth has no face.
Yeah, but it grows back because he's a vampire.
Oh, nice. Well, and it's also interesting with all of it being canon, but there's been no talks of bringing Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, any of those characters. We think lots of rumors we could get a John Bernthal Punisher cameo or something like that, but like we don't know. I mean, they could just canonize one of those shows, right?
Yeah.
It's not okay. I love you. He's in it. John's in it.
He is in it.
I mean, John really wants to.
John's in it. It's pretty much been established that he's the Punisher back. He's Frank. He's back. I think Jessica Jones' story is something that's like, all right, do we want to go in that direction where we already have Daredevil? Yeah. As far as bringing, because the problem is, if you bring all the Defenders back onto Disney Plus, Hulu, whichever, are you bringing them to feed them all into one series, or are you bringing all of them back for their individual show?
Yeah.
They're not going to bring them. They're not going to do all the individual shows. And if anything, we'll see them show up in other people's shows.
And do you bring back do you get the original actors? Do you get a Kristen Ritter? Do you get a Mike Coulter? Do you go and get Finn Jones? Do you get them to come back and just say, hey, we need you to pop up for a second?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they all would.
Yeah, I mean, for a Marvel Studios check now,
right.
And
it could lead to future things. You never know.
Yeah, and again, with what we're talking about, of like maybe the Disney Plus series are going to move more into like grounded street level things. Isn't it funny how we've come full circle? Oh, so basically they're going to do what Netflix did 10 years ago. Basically,
Go right back to
yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Why not? And if it's done in a good way, in which like it's a great payoff for people that enjoyed those series. But if you didn't watch those, or it's been a while and you don't remember them, you can still enjoy the new content. Everybody wins, right? That's a good thing. Yeah.
Do you think
Do
you think they give each of those characters, like Iron Fist and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, their own show?
That's what
do we go in from Daredevil straight into something else, like a team up or something?
I mean, don't we have like 18 episodes of Daredevil Born Again to fill?
Do you think they're going to keep 18?
What if I don't know about that, but what if we get little mini arcs? We get a little Punisher mini arc. We got a little Jessica Jones mini arc.
I mean, if Daredevil becomes the home for the Defenders, that show just becomes like a showcase for that kind of stuff.
I mean, then the final episodes of whatever the season is it like a Defenders episode?
Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, something like that. Or if they are gonna do with Secret Wars ending Phase 6, right? They do what they did in the comics, and they're just kind of like, oh yeah, we can only have one Karen here, so sorry, Deborah. We're bringing in this Karen from this universe. You know what I mean? Oh, we can only have one Iron Fist here.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be you. I'm so sorry. We're gonna keep this one from another universe. At some point, Marvel's gonna have to pull the trigger on recasting characters, which they've done a little bit. They're doing it to Vanessa, and we're all gonna be fine with it. Everyone's gonna be fine with it. People will gripe online, but like, the story's got to move on, and like different actors are going to play these characters over time if you want these characters to keep being around.
I don't know if too many people's going to gripe. I don't know why would anybody gripe over recasting Vanessa Fisk.
Well, people will gripe. It just doesn't. Everyone can gripe, but who cares who gripes? You know what I mean?
Very fair-minded man.
Yeah.
Gripes of wrath. With all this Disney Plus talk here, let's end on a little bit more news. Wonderman is back filming. Reports they're filming in LA. That was actually, Wonderman was filming right when the first strike started. And they actually shut down some of those sets, right? But Destin Daniel Cretton, director of Shang-Chi, in addition to other films, this is like his series. I think, is he the showrunner or director?
Yeah, I wonder if they've changed it for like formal like showrunner title, but he's definitely
now they
like
have to have a showrunner.
The shows have to have a showrunner that's a writer as well. So if Cretton is actually was he writing?
Yeah, because he worked on the script for Shang-Chi, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he did. I'm pretty sure he was working on the script.
Because that's SAG rules now.
Yes. And he was set to direct King Dynasty. He's no longer directing King Dynasty because we don't know what's up with that movie in general. So this is his only Marvel project right now. No Shang-Chi 2 has been announced. We don't know where that character's going to come back. Oh, is he hurt too?
He's hurt too.
Was he in the same fight that got Pedro Pascal?
Simu Liu's hurt as well.
His ACL to
something like that. Yeah.
What's his ACL, right?
He tore his ACL.
It was his ACL. I thought it was like the less damage.
It's one of the CLs.
MCLs or whatever.
We got to get some of these German. Weird doctor services, flesh some stem cells.
Okay.
Some of these actors.
Brandon was like, where you going?
I didn't know what part of German history he wanted to bring in.
The NFL, I feel like a guy gets his literal brain removed every other week and he's back, for the playoffs. So whatever. Healing thoughts to all of our favorite actors, okay? But there's been some pictures kind of coming out. We're not going to share them right now because they're kind of leaky. But from the Los Angeles set of that show, very interesting. Other than we know the key casting and the creative behind it, but we know a lot of side characters like Ben Kingsley's character is going to show up. Some of the other things like that, but we don't really know anything else about the general plot or thrust of that show. That might be a 2025 series. We're thinking if they're shooting now, hopefully early 2025. In fact, is that going to be? We don't know the exact thing, but the next live action Marvel show we get is Agatha. Could that be the next one after that?
Probably.
Depending on where Daredevil falls?
Yeah.
Ironheart. We keep forgetting about Ironheart.
I mean, that show.
Ironheart's done.
That show.
It's done.
Is in a vault somewhere?
And it's magic based. That's the only reason I would say that after Agatha. Just because if they're both magic, because you got the hood and stuff like that, and the whole Mephisto thing supposedly being involved in it now. So that's the only.
And we have this Eyes of Wakanda animated series coming out this year, but I don't know if it'll tie in at all. I think that one is supposed to be more historical.
That's historical. Yeah. That goes back into the lineage of Wakanda. But I think Agatha, and then you probably some Ironheart back to back, and then maybe Wonderman because I think 2025 will be the year Marvel's like, all right, we didn't have enough in 2024, really.
Yeah.
You about to get us all through this year.
Yes.
Well, like Wonder Man is a great way to showcase what they started doing on She-Hulk, which I really liked, was populating the world with like C and D level powered people who are just like, nah, you know, I'm a porcupine or whatever. Like, we'll see more of that.
I'm a porcupine.
And maybe that's where you have She-Hulk, right? She shows up on Wonder Man for an episode.
That's right. That show is set in LA.
Yeah. And I think between, you know, we may not get She-Hulk season 2, just her show, but between Wonder Man and like Daredevil Born Again, I would like to see her pop up somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, Thunderbolts, Brave New World.
You might get a, you know,
Let her be the next one. Just show up in every movie.
Might get another a White Vision appearance because we haven't had him since WandaVision.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's out there wandering.
That show was teased for a minute.
Vision Quest was or something like that. They kept changing the name.
Well, it was Vision Quest, and then there was like rumors they're not going to do Vision Quest anymore. I don't know. Meanwhile, this child android's wandering around being like, "What is love?"
Laser eyes. So lots of news. This was a very productive headlines day.
I'm
calling
glad
it.
to hear that.
I'm calling it. Evan, was there anything that came up in the chat that we should bring out?
Let's see. A lot of great stuff for. Oh yeah, here's one. This ties back into the Daredevil question, something that people have talked about for a long time. Watching Rand asking, do you think that Marvel will ever get up to the level or darkness and grit that the Netflix series had, like Jessica Jones and Daredevil, the Punisher?
Yes, that's why you got Marvel Spotlight.
Right.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah, and we felt like, and certainly in some of the fight scenes, Echo touched on that. Overall, maybe didn't turn out to be as gritty a show as the trailers kind of.
Man, I felt the same way. I was like, episode 1, I was like, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah, necks are getting snapped,
Yeah, I
and
was
dudes
like-
are getting kicked right and left.
Then all of a
but-
sudden it started getting like, all right, most people ain't really that. We're just gonna
Listen, I don't want Zane to be dead. I need him to be alive. He was great.
But yeah, not only do they need to catch up to where the Netflix series were as far as grit, the Spum C, dog. Craven's out there biting guys' noses off, okay?
Well, and I'm fine with them getting back there. My problem with like, I did love the Great the Darkness, but those shows started heavy.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
that
were
first
very
season
dark.
of Jessica Jones is
Yes,
dark, and it's
very
like
dark.
a lot of darkness to deal with. And even like Daredevil came out swinging. You know,
Yes.
was it the first episode that Wilson
Yeah.
Fisk crushes a dude's head
Yeah.
with the car
in a
door.
car? And it's like, imagine if that show went on a few more episodes before you really saw how dark he was. And you're like, well, Wilson Fisk isn't so bad. And like,
I mean, we
it sets a
watched-
tone right from the start.
I mean, we saw him beat a man's face in an Echo. It was like,
Yeah.
I need to get a new jacket because I don't want my
Yeah,
to see
yeah.
this one. He didn't care about the body. I just
Yeah.
need a jacket real quick.
I'm fine with the darkness, but build up to it. Don't start it
Well,
heavy. Like,
Sure. I also think like we have the potential to like explore that in different ways of like a scarier kind of darkness if they go into more of the supernatural stuff. You know, like we got like glimpses at like MCU horror with Werewolf by Night. They've never kind of gone back to that well since then. I want more of that, right? Like I wouldn't mind again, they should give us a Werewolf by Night special every year in my opinion. But
Sons.
yeah, the whole Midnight Sun stuff, right? There's a lot and we don't know what Blade's going to look like. That
They don't
movie,
even
They don't know.
They don't know either.
They don't know what Blade's gonna look
like,
like.
you got some bitches? We'd like to hear them.
I mean, presumably there will be vampires. People will get their blood
What
sucked.
if they don't put a vampire in that movie?
Kind of in that same vein, McJack Attack saying Heroes for Hire would be a cool show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think the last one that we can do on YouTube, we'll end on this one before doing some Twitch ones. Here's Kobe-Wan Kenobi asking, do you think since Ironheart is pretty much done, that they'll release it as a binge drop?
Unfortunately, probably yes. But
Are they going to make that one a spotlight retroactively?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
It's just too powerful.
only if it's Mephisto. If Mephisto for sure is in it, because that's been
right.
if Mephisto for sure is in, I think that'll go spotlight.
Though, I mean, ironically, for Echo being a spotlight, she became a superpowered individual by the end of that show.
Yeah, but it's not like I have this power all the time thing. I think it's implied that like she's not always going to be glowing up her hands and calling on the ancestors to do her job. Like she'll just be shooting people
And
in the
giving it
face.
to her cousin and
Hey, it's
grandmother.
fine. It's fine, Jay. It is fine. Here's the deal. I think if it depends on the episode counts. I don't think they're gonna binge drop anything that's like 7 or 8 episodes.
I think 5 or 6 you'll get a binge.
Because I think they loved. They were, because remember, everything was binge on streaming. Back in the day, everything was binge, and then it was all binge all the time.
All those Netflix
and then
shows.
starting with WandaVision, they did it week by week. Well, I think they dropped the first 3
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah,
and then went week to week.
But you got to remember, we were
and
also
they
locked
dominated that social conversation.
Yes, they did.
and that's what they're missing, right?
Yeah.
And they were having it during Secret Invasion, and then it became like this show sucks, and they're like,
That was the
we don't
conversation.
want to extend.
We don't need the conversation. We don't want to be in it no more.
And maybe they were afraid of Echo. You know, I think it was smart to binge drop that series because it was shorter. It's 5 episodes, and I think some of those episodes, if you had to wait another week, you'd have been like, man, I'm tired.
Every
of this
episode
show.
got, and speaking of shorter, every episode got shorter.
Yeah, they did get shorter as it went, huh? You want like an hour-long finale.
Because it went like 54 minutes, 40,
36
36, 30. It was just got shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to wait till we
If
stop these
they
cameras.
can really start nailing episodes of television, and I mean like whatever you think of the series as a whole, if each episode can just feel like, man, I would pop it back in and watch this episode.
Yeah.
Just stand alone. If they can start doing that, then I would think they would feel comfortable
good
doing week to week.
cliffhangers, good kind of whole arcs within an episode.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what? Again, they're learning. They've now got more series under their belts, hits and misses,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like that they can grow from. Thank you so much for watching this Headlines episode today. This is a format we're going to try to start off our week with every week, presumably. So come back, check in with us on all the fun, nerdy news you need to know. I've been Zach Huddleston here with Brandon Barrick and Jay Washington.
That's right.
Yep.
Have a good one.
That's a real dramatic pause.